Okay, this morning we're going to learn a bit about Parshas Vayishlach, which primarily deals in the beginning with Yaakov's return back home, and after his return back home, his confrontation with Esav, and his confrontation with the angel of Esav, and as we said last week, the sun rising early to complete one unit of Yaakov's life. And then there's a number of other stories that continue with the rest of the parsha, the entire event with Shechem and Dinah, where his daughter gets raped, and then he finally returns home, and the death of his father, and the lineage of Esav is discussed. And we've talked about the incident with Dinah in previous classes. We've talked about a number of other issues. So today we're going to focus primarily on Yaakov's concerns with meeting his brother Esav. That's what we're going to focus on today. And let's begin looking at the first source. We're going to look at the first 4 or 5 verses in the parsha with, and I've inserted the commentary of Rashi or the Medrash as appropriate. Okay. It says, and Yaakov sent messengers before him to Esav his brother to the land of Seir, to the country of Edom. Okay, Yaakov's about to return back to the land of Israel, and he sends malachim, which is translated in English as messengers. Rashi there says it wasn't messengers, it was actual angels. Actual angels. He sent angels to check out Esav's situation over there. Now, the first question we have to ask is, why is he sending any messengers at all? So the simple answer is to know what Esav's feelings are. What can he anticipate coming up? So what concerns could Yaakov have? What are his concerns? What would you say his concerns are?
He's going to kill him.
Esav wants to destroy him. So I guess check out what Esav's plans are on a military basis. What's the strength that he has? How difficult is this going to happen, this return that we're going to have? That would appear to be the nature of why Yaakov has sent the messengers. So if that's the case, then why do you need to send angels? Why do you need to send angels?
How can you send?
That's another question. That would just assume he knows how. Okay, that's a good question. How can he send angels? But you know, when you're a holy man, you have access. You have access to higher beings. That's beyond what we can talk about. I can't tell you how we, I mean, we know that Adam Arishon, first man, had angels serving him. So it's possible. How it is, it's not important. You don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about it. Yaakov could live with angels. Fine. But the question is, if you just want to know the military strength of Esav, send anybody. Anybody will check out on a reconnaissance mission, and they'll come back. As you'll see in a minute, what the angels answer isn't anything more than regular people could have answered. So why does he have to send angels? Now, one answer that is suggested is because anybody else would be too afraid to go on such a mission.
We can kill them.
That's one simple answer, which I find difficult to understand, because that's the whole business of reconnaissance, is to be checking out without getting caught. And I don't understand. You can't find a person who can't get caught. You just literally stand on top of a mountain, you look down from about 3 miles away, it's good visibility in the Negev. You can see, you can go to Israel, you stand on certain mountain peaks, you could see for miles. So, what we do, it's a difficult answer to say he couldn't find anybody courageous enough to go and do a reconnaissance mission. So the question is, why does he have to send an angel? I mean, a human being could get this done with just as easily. Let's continue. So, but the thing is, but he wants the angels to talk. He wants the messengers to talk to Esav. Aha. Thus shall you speak to my lord Esav. This is what you should say. You should say the following. Your servant Yaakov says this. This is what your servant says. I have sojourned, Garti, im Lavan Garti. I have sojourned with Lavan, skip the brackets for now, and stayed there until now. So the first thing you tell him is, I've been with Lavan for the last 20 years. Last 20 years. Tell Esav, I've been with Lavan for the last 20 years. Rashi there, and I italicized this, The word garti, if you look in the Hebrew, is Gimel, Reish, Taf, Yud.
Yes.
Garti. Has the same letters, just mix them around, as Taryag, which is equal to the number of 613. So you tell him that I have lived with Lavan and I have kept the 613 mitzvos. That's what Rashi's adding. He's adding. Now, the obvious question is, why is that important to tell Esav? Does Esav care at all if Yaakov does mitzvahs? He knows that Yaakov does mitzvahs. He knows he does mitzvahs. So, is Esav afraid of his mitzvahs? So, what does that have to do with anything? Okay, that's a question. Let's keep going. And he goes on and says, I have oxen and donkeys. So, I assume he's talking about his wealth. He's talking about his wealth. And I'm a wealthy guy. Well, look what the Medrash says about the oxen and the donkeys. The Medrash says he wasn't referring just to regular oxen and donkeys, and that wasn't the only message he was sending to Esav. He was sending oxen is a reference to Yosef. Because we know in the blessings, when Yaakov blessed, when Yosef is called by Moshe Rabbeinu, he's called Bechor Shoro. Yosef is called an ox. So that's a hint to the fact that I have one of my children, his name is Yosef. And donkeys is a reference to Yisachar, because when Yaakov blessed Yisachar, he called him a strong-boned donkey. So the Medrash is saying that Yaakov is telling Esav, not only do I have sheep and cattle, oxen and donkeys, but I have Yosef and I have Yisachar. So big deal. So what does that have to do with him telling Esav? Again, why would Esav care if he has a son Yosef and a son Yisachar? Okay, let's continue. And I have flocks and men servants and women servants, and I have sent to tell my Lord that I may find favor in your sight. I want to make friends with you. I want you to like me.
But he knows he's a rush.
Hold on. That's good. And the messenger, okay, so that's what he said. That was the message to Esav. Send them to know what's the strength of Esav, and perhaps make an overture to make a peace offering. You say, I want to come in peace. I want to find favor in your eyes. I want to find favor in your eyes. That is the message he's sending. Okay. And the messengers returned to saying to Yaakov, we came to your brother Esav, and also he comes to meet you. He's also coming to meet you. And 400 men with him. He's coming with 400 men. Okay. It seems the report is saying that he's prepared to do battle with you. He's ready to do battle with you. Okay. When Yaakov hears this, then Yaakov was greatly afraid and distressed. The Hebrew is Vayira Yaakov Vayetzer Lo. Two expressions. Greatly afraid and distressed. So again the question is, why a double expression of greatly afraid and distressed? I mean, afraid is afraid. What's interesting? Afraid and distressed. Afraid and distressed. So the standard commentaries answer, and Rashi says, well, he's afraid if he gets into a battle, he may kill some people. Distress, he's afraid some of his family might get killed. He may have to kill other people. It's not such a,
But if he's got complete faith in Hashem, why was he worried what Isaac was got?
Okay, that's a good question, Aubrey. If he has complete faith in Hashem, what's he worried about? We're gonna strengthen that question. That's a good question. We're going to even ask a better question than that, along the same lines. Let's look at the next source, Aubrey. In last week's parsha, at the dream of the ladder, look what Hashem told Yaakov. And behold, I am with you, and will keep you in all places where you go, and will bring you back to this land. Hashem says, I will bring you back to this land of Canaan, for I will not leave you until I have done all about which I have spoken to you. Hashem promised him clearly at the dream of the ladder, he's going to protect him. And obviously, at that point already, Yaakov was very much afraid of Esav 20 years ago. And, if Hashem says, I'm going to protect you, so Aubrey was saying you should, in general, have belief in Hashem. But this is even more than that. Forget about just having general belief in Hashem. Hashem already gave you His word. Hashem gave you His word. If you get a word from Hashem, that seems to be, a really good thing to have. Now, and if you think about it, let's even go further than this. Let's even make the question stronger. Look at verse number 3. Verse number 3 is referring back to the end of Parshas Toldos. After Yaakov stole the blessings from Esav, and Rivka overheard that Esav wants to kill Yaakov, so Rivka tells Yaakov to get out of here. Leave. Now look how she words this. And those words of Esav, her older son, were told to Rivka that he wants to kill Yaakov. And she sent and called Yaakov, her younger son, and said to him, behold, your brother Esav comforts himself by planning to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice and arise. Flee to Lavan, my brother, to Haran, and remain with him a few days until your brother's fury turns away. Your brother stops being angry. Until your brother's anger turns away from you and he forgets what you have done to him, then I will send and fetch you from here. Why should I be deprived of both of you in one day? In other words, Rivka says to Yaakov, I'm sending you now. Stay there until I send word for you to return. I will send word for you to return when I see that Esau's anger has gone down. When I see that, time heals wounds. And when I see that his anger goes away, I will send for you. Well, obviously, we know we'll learn somewhere in this parsha later on. It talks about how Devorah, the nurse of Rivka, dies in the next story. And the rabbi said, what's Devorah's nurse have to do with anything? Where did she come from? The rabbi said Devorah was the messenger that Rivka sent to say that you can come back. It's time to come back. Esau's no longer angry at you. So it's not only do you have Hashem's promise that I will protect you, the fact that Yaakov got word from his mother to come back obviously means that Esau's anger has dissipated.
Was that after a few days?
Well, days can sometimes mean years. That's a poetic expression. And it took quite a while. As a matter of fact, it took 20 years until Rivka finally felt that it was fine. It's okay. So if he's been sent by Rivka's messenger to come back home, it's because Esau's anger has dissipated. So that really just throws everything into confusion. If his anger is dissipated, what's Yaakov afraid of? And B, well, wait a minute, if his anger is dissipated, what's he doing with 400 soldiers trying to attack him? How do we understand this? It's difficult to understand. Okay, let's continue. So what does Yaakov do after he has this fear? We go now to source number 4. And we continue now. Yaakov prays. He prays. He says, save me, I beseech you. Hashem, save me. He really feels very threatened now. Yaakov is praying because he feels his life is in danger. He says, save me from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esav. So again, the famous question is, we know he only has one brother. Either call him the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esav. You don't have to double the expression over here. Why is he doubling the expression? Let's continue. For I fear him. Again, he's saying, I am afraid. Lest he will come and strike me, the mother with the children. And he'll kill a mother and the children. So what does that mean exactly, a mother and the children? I mean, well, first of all, why don't you say the mother and the father and the children? Isn't there a father here too? And more than that, no, he killed the mother and the father. He's just saying he's going to kill what? The mother with the children. What about the father? Yaakov's the father. Kill me. And what about mothers? There's more than one mother. There's 4 mothers.
Correct.
So what does it mean? It should say imahot, imabanim. And again, now look even in the next line he says. And you said, he's reminding him what Hashem said. I will surely do you good. And make your seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be counted for multitude. So it's kind of funny. Yaakov himself is invoking God's promise. And yet he feels, even with the promise not good enough. It seems that Hashem made a promise. Hashem is going to take care of you. Yaakov says, I'm afraid it's not going to work. And I'm asking you again. Save me on top of your promise. What's going on? Does Hashem need to be reminded about, let's say somebody borrows money from you. He says he'll pay you back in 6 months. 6 months comes by, the guy doesn't say a word to you. It wouldn't hurt to remind him, eh? Remind. People tend to forget certain things that are convenient to forget. Do you think God has a bad memory? Oh no, God's going to forget that one. That was a long time. That was 20 years ago. God doesn't remember things from 20 years ago. So, what's the point? What's the point of the prayer over here? And he's so Mamish seems to be very afraid. To the point he's Mamish davening very strong, very hard. Okay, what's going on there? Let's continue. Number 5. So what happens? Now we're skipping a little bit of the verses. So what do? He prepares himself. He prepares a gift. He sends an expensive gift to Esav. He settles his family beyond the river Yabok and divides them into 2 groups. And then he forgot something, and he go back by himself to pick up a few things he forgot. So now we come to this passage and said Yaakov was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. All of a sudden, somebody picks a fight with him. Who's the person picking the fight? So Rashi says it's not a person. He says it is the Sar Shel Esav, the ministering angel of Esav, the spiritual essence of what drives Esav. Every nation has a ministering angel, a representative above in the celestial worlds. Esav had his as well. So an angel starts to wrestle with him. So the question now is, where did this come from? We're talking about Yaakov worrying about Esav, preparing to deal with Esav. Where in the entire content of the story do we now have an angel of Esav fighting with him? Right? What does that have to do with the story? And everything that comes out of that story. And eventually Yaakov wrestles him to a draw, and then he asks the angel to give him a blessing. Another question. Why did Avram Avinu was a big tzaddik. Did an angel ever fight with Avram Avinu?
No.
How about when Avram wanted to chase after the 4 kings to save Lot? Maybe the angel of Stom should have come. Not Stom, of Nimrod. The angel of those 4 bad countries should have come to fight a wrestling match with Avram. There's enough opportunities for the Malach to fight with Avram. Didn't want to fight with Avram. How about Yitzchak? Did a Malach ever fight with Yitzchak? No. Why all of a sudden is a Malach wanting to pick a fight with Yaakov? Of all the others, why is he picking a fight with Yaakov? And then what happens more? So then the angel wants to leave.
What's the answer to that question?
I'm not answering anything yet. I'm leaving you hang with a million questions. I'm just going to cover about a dozen questions. There'll be one answer to all of them. That's the best kind of class. When one answer answers everything, then you know for sure it's the truth. It's like when you watch a TV show, when you watch a good movie, right?
Right.
What's this? What's this? What's this? What's this? Who done it? Right? They keep you in suspense. Okay, let's continue. So now the angel said, "I'm not letting you go till you bless me." So source number 6, and he said, the angel said, "Your name shall be called no more Yaakov, but Yisrael. Yisrael. For as a prince you have power with God and with men and have prevailed." Okay. Now, what is the why is he getting a name change right now? What's the significance of his name change right now? And that's the blessing to change his name? What's that all about? Keep going. Okay, so anyway, he prevails, he lets the angel go, he gets his blessing, fine. Then, next morning, there comes Esav with his 400 men. Source number 7. And Yaakov lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esav came, and with him 400 men. And he divided the children to Leah and to Rachel and to the 2 maidservants. And he put the maidservants and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Yosef in the back. He divided up the family. He put the first wave of soldiers, second wave, and the back wave. The first wave is the maidservants and their kids. Right? He put the baby there. Then Leah and their children afterwards, and Rachel and Yosef in the back. Now, we're going to know in next week's Parsha, the fact that Yaakov gave Yosef a coat of many colors caused a lot of jealousy. And now what's he doing? He's putting Yosef in the most protected position over here. Wouldn't that also incur some jealousy? So why does he feel there's no problem doing that? And let's just throw in a couple more interesting questions. Let's think about this. What is Yaakov really afraid of? Well, he's afraid that it's going to be a real big battle. Well, I don't know. Is Yaakov such a slouch? Is Yaakov a weakling, a weak Rosh Hashiva? Or is he a strong, strong man? What do you know? I'll give you one of many sources. In source 8, in the beginning of last week's Parsha, when Yaakov came to Haran, he noticed a bunch of shepherds were just sitting around by the well. And asked, what are you guys doing? How come you called it a day? He said, no, we didn't call it a day. We're waiting for some more shepherds to come. You see, because the rock that's over the well that prevents us from feeding our sheep, giving drinks to our sheep, is a very, very strong rock. And it's like three big shepherds, and we have to wait for more shepherds to come. When more shepherds come, we all come, we'll push, we'll get the rock off of the well. So that's why they said, we're not wasting time, we're waiting. So look what it says in source 8. And it came to pass, when Yaakov saw Rachel, the daughter of Lavan, his mother's brother, the sheep of Lavan, his mother's brother, that Yaakov went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth. And Rashi says, like what? Like a cork off of a bottle.
Wow.
Can you imagine a huge boulder, I don't know, it like weighs a ton. He goes over and, just goes like this, and boom, off goes a 2-ton boulder. Superman. Strong man. At the end of last week's Parsha as well, when he made a covenant with Lavan. They all take a bunch of little stones. He just takes this huge boulder right off of a cliff, boom, puts it down over here. Yaakov is an enormously strong man. He's an enormously strong man. So what's he so worried about? But this guy's like really strong. He's really strong. He can do it. He's a strong guy.
You have an army.
So he's got 12 sons. He's got shepherds. He's got an entourage. He's got lots. So these are the questions.
Wow.
Okay, these are all the questions. The answer is basically one point. It's just one point. Answers all the questions. Yaakov understood that Esav presents a danger to him in two ways. As Yitzchak told Yaakov when Yaakov was taking the blessings and Yitzchak was describing his feelings, he said to Yaakov, but he thought he was Esav, he said, Akol kol Yaakov, the voice is the voice of Yaakov, Ayadayim yedei Esav, but the hands are the hands of Esav. And what does it mean that the hands are the hands of Esav? The answer is that Esav has two hands. Esav has two hands. And each hand is as lethal as the other hand. Esav, which represents the non-Jewish world, which represents the non-Jewish mentality, and the non-Jewish world presents to the Jewish people a double-edged threat. When we are with non-Jews, we have two problems. Number one is good old-fashioned anti-Semitism, that they want to kill us and destroy us. That's one of the hands of Esav. And that's a pretty bad hand. But there's a worse hand than that. And the worst hand is the hand of assimilation. There's the one hand with a knife and a sword that's ready to kill you, and the other hand that's prepared to hug you and bring you close. Those are the two dangers that Yaakov has, and he knows, historically, it's always going to be one or the other. It's going to be one or the other. And Yaakov is afraid of both. But which one is he most afraid of? Which one is he most afraid of? That we have to look at what he is saying over here, and then he can be able to understand what he's afraid of. And the fact of the matter is, when he said before, please Hashem, save me from Esav, my brother Esav. Save me from the hands of my brother. Save me from Esav. Where was that? That was in source number 4. From the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esav. What's he talking about? He's talking about the hand of friendship.
Wow.
The hand of friendship. Save me from the hand of Esav, which means from the hand of Esav's friendship. Because although it carries a lot of friendship, the hand of Esav is still the hand of Esav. Meaning to say that Esav has one goal in life. The goal of Esav is to destroy Yaakov. That's it. That's the only purpose he has in this world. And that really was the blessing that Yitzchak gave Esav. When Esav said, can't you bless me? Hashem said, I got nothing to bless you. I gave everything to Yaakov. How can I give you anything? He says, isn't there anything for me? And he says, the only thing I can give you is to be the watchdog over Yaakov. Yaakov deserves what he got from you, but only if he uses it the way Hashem wants him to use it. Yaakov stole your blessings, but he only is entitled to those blessings if he uses them in the way that God wants him to use it. What?
What could that be? What would be the positive thing that Esau could contribute?
Again, Yaakov has to live up to what his mission in life is. Yaakov's mission, as we said in earlier classes a number of weeks ago, Yaakov's mission is to be able to integrate the physical world into God's world as well. Not to ignore the physical world. And therefore Hashem will bless Yaakov with all the physical things in this world, but you have to use them in a way that Hashem wants them to be used. And once you have all those blessings, then you deserve. And that was Esav's blessing. We talked about this a few weeks ago, what the original plan was. Since Esav fell apart and didn't do his part of the plan, Yaakov has to take on both ends of the plan. So therefore, you need a lot of blessings to do that. You need a lot of physical blessings. And Yaakov has all those physical blessings. Now, the problem is, what if Yaakov is going to mess up with that? He's using the blessings not the way Hashem wants him to use it, as we'll see in a minute. Then Esav has permission to attack Yaakov. To always keep Yaakov on his toes. If Yaakov is slipping away, Esav's there to make trouble. So what Yaakov is really concerned about is Esav is not coming now to destroy Yaakov. He is not coming with his 400 men to kill Yaakov. He's coming with his 400 men to befriend Yaakov. To befriend Yaakov. And he wants to be his friend. Now, why does he want to be his friend? So again, as we've said many times in the past, that finally Christianity, after thousands of years of failure, has finally figured out the way to get rid of the Jew. For thousands of years, the Christian says, we're going to kill them. That's how we will get rid of them. And for 1,600 years they tried that, and it isn't working. They try to kill us. They kill a lot of Jews, but the Jew says, well, we don't want nothing to do with you Christians. You think we're going to want to be like you? We see how much blood is on your hands, of Jewish blood's on your hands. You want to marry them. So the Christian says, we're going to change our approach. We'll change our approach to love. We will love them. We'll give them our hand and hug them and kiss them and be close to them. And my goodness, look how successful they are now. Look how successful Esav, not just the Christian world. Esav means the Western society, America, Canada, Europe, all this. So we're going to give them all the beautiful things in the world that they could want. We'll be their friend. And this is the second hand of Esav. The hand of Esav that wants to be friends with us. And Yaakov knows the following. That yes, Hashem can make a promise. Hashem can promise that I will protect you. But what can Hashem protect you from? He can protect you if an enemy wants to destroy you and you are living up to what it means to be a Jew. I will protect you. Nothing's going to happen to you. But Yaakov says, but that promise is only a good promise in terms of Hashem protecting us from physical anti-Semitic danger. But if Esau is going to come along and come as our friend, and we will become closer to Esau and start to socialize with Esau. And once we socialize with Esav, we'll become a little bit more like Esav. Then all of a sudden we don't live up to what we're supposed to do. Then all bets are off. Then Hashem says, there's no reason for me to help you now. And that was Yaakov's concern. The Gemara says, "Hakol bidei shamayim chutz mi'yirah shamayim." Everything is in the hands of God except fear of God. Fear of God is something that a person has to develop himself. And Hashem cannot give you fear of God. Hashem can protect you from enemies. He can do all that. But you have to develop your own fear of God. Those challenges you have to work out on your own. And therefore there is no solution to that. Now they give a very beautiful analogy about this. Where do I have it over here? They bring an analogy. For example, a person once years ago, a religious rabbi. He was living in Tel Aviv. Way before. And then, as time is passing, Tel Aviv it became much more secular. We're talking people in Tel Aviv in the 30s, and also in the 40s, the 50s. It's getting bad from a religious point of view. Chil Shabbos, all these things. So he wanted to go to see with this rabbi, and go with his brother to see the Brisker Rav, ask him a shayla if they should move to Bnei Brak. Because Bnei Brak was a religious city. So one brother was telling the other brother, that's what I want to go to the Brisker Rav and ask. He said, I remember the Chavetz Chaim. Remember they tell a story about the Chavetz Chaim who lived in Radin. Radin was a small town in Poland. And the Chavetz Chaim, when all of a sudden the bus line usually was in the big cities. But then came a certain time where the bus made also a stop in Radin. Stopped in Radin onto the bigger cities. And that bus ran on Shabbos too. And when the bus ran on Shabbos, right, and now you would see Chilul Shabbos in the city of Radin, so the Chavetz Chaim would say the following in Yiddish, and we'll translate it in English. Chavetz Chaim says, Ze machen mir kalt, which means they're making me cold. In other words, the Chavetz Chaim was afraid they're cooling off my fear of God. In other words, what does this mean? It's a very important message. A lot of times, even if a person is not transgressing any Averos, the mere fact that a person is exposed to seeing something that's bad is happening, it makes a mark on a person. Even if you say, oh, that's disgusting. How could a person do such a thing? Oh, it's a shanda. But when you say that already shows acceptance that there is such a reality. Before you saw it, it's not even on the radar. And now that you see it, it's on your radar, even though you're pushing it away with two hands. How can there be a bus in Radin on Shabbos? It's terrible. It's disgusting. But the fact that you see it, and you're not, vomiting up from this, and not physically sick from this, that means there's a certain degree of acquiescence to the situation that has come into being. And therefore, that's the temperature's beginning to drop a little bit. That warmth, that excitement for Yiddishkeit just goes down a little bit. I think anybody could know this if you've ever been to Bnei Brak, if you've been to Hebron for a Shabbos, or if you stay at very sequestered parts of Yerushalayim for Shabbos, you could feel it at Shabbos. You go anywhere else in the world, okay, there might be certain places. Maybe go to Monroe where Satmar has their own little private community. Anywhere, even in Muncie, there are people driving on the streets. They're goyim still. You see cars on Shabbos. It just isn't Shabbos. As much as we all keep Shabbos, right? When you walk home on Shabbos, on Baptist Street, you see a million cars. How Shabbos can it feel? How Shabbos can it feel? You're keeping Shabbos. You're walking, and it's raining, and you're walking. And the whole world is busy. It's all now, okay. And let's say they're all goyim, but still, it's not good for your eyes to see such a thing. The possibility, and it's not all goyim. Unfortunately, it's probably just as many Jews as goyim. You see, there's lots of Jews do this. So therefore, it has to impact on the person. So, and the Chavetz Chaim would give a beautiful mashal to this, a beautiful analogy, to a fellow who had a very nice. A store that sold beautiful fragrances. Perfumery. Beautiful perfume. It's amazing. And he'd leave the doors open to the store, because if people would walk by, just smelling that would just draw them right into the perfumery. Well, to his bad fortune, one day a guy opened up next door to him a tannery. Now, a tannery has the most disgusting smell that exists. So now, what's happening? The smell of the tannery, the bad smell is stronger than the good smell of the perfumery. So that tannery smell is going right into the perfumery. So now, what does he got to do? No, can't afford to move. He closes the doors of the perfumery so the smell of the tannery will not go in. But guess what? Business was going bad. Because number one, people don't smell the perfumery in the street anymore. And number two, the doors are closed. So the thing is closed. And that's how things are going for a while. Right? But that's the only reaction he can have, because the tannery is making a terrible smell. So what am I going to do? I got to close the perfumery doors, at least so nobody comes in. When you close the perfumery doors, you got to realize you've closed the doors. And if you like it or not, your fault or not your fault, business is going down. And you can't move because there's no business in the next town. This is where everybody lives. Okay, after a short while, the guy with the tannery is very clever. He says to the guy at the perfumery, my tannery business is doing amazing. And my lease, that I have, it's a very small property. I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. I'll make you a partner in my business. We'll break a hole in the wall that we share. And that way, we can also sell tannery stuff, and you'll be a 50-50 partner in the business. The guy's figuring, listen, I'm going broke the way it is now. I might as well be a partner in the business. So they break the wall, and the first day, the guy with the perfumery, he's going crazy. He says, it's the most disgusting smell I've ever smelled in my life. I can't live. I got to go out and take a breath of fresh air. And so it went day after day after day, but after a long while, he got used to it. He got used to it and was a happy tanner for the rest of his life. So, that's exactly the same that's going on over here. The same is going on over here. When the non-Jewish world presents its lifestyle to us, and we're very observant Jews, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's like the tannery. The tannery is verstunken. We have a beautiful Jewish lifestyle. We have Shabbos. We have kashrus. It's a perfumery. It's such an amazing smell. And now this disgusting smell is just coming waffling through the air. It's terrible. But what is there to do? There's nothing you can do. So you close up shop. You try to hide yourself from it. But the more you close up the shop, you don't get any customers. You insulate yourself, then you're starting to lose business. So eventually you find those oils, and you got to do what everybody else is doing too. Slowly, you divest yourself of what it means to be a Jew. And that was the fear that Yaakov had. Hashem promised He would protect him. If you live like a Jew, I'll always protect you. You never have to worry. But if you start to drop off from living like a Jew, all promises are gone. So now what's Yaakov's concern? When he sees Esav coming, it's not just a military issue. The most concerning part of the issue is what's really on the mind of Esav. What are his men really planning on doing? And that you cannot send a human being on a reconnaissance mission to know what's in the heart of Esav. He sends the angels, because an angel is a supreme being who not only internalizes what it sees, but is able to understand what the deeper message is going on over here. So although the messenger is giving a message, I've come with Yaakov, but we also want to know, and what's Esav's real intent? What's the intention of this meeting over here? And that's the concern. Am I going to have a spiritual issue to deal with? Is he coming to be friends with me? Is he coming to destroy me? And therefore Yaakov says, and now this is the message. Now we're going to explain all the questions get answered now. So he says, okay, I want you to know, tell Esav the following. That in case you're trying to get me to assimilate, in case you're coming with a friendly hand, you should know that I lived with Lavan for 20 years. In Lavan Garti, but I kept all 613 mitzvahs. I didn't assimilate the 20 years I was with Lavan. Tell that to him. If he has any plans of assimilating me, that is not going to happen. And more than that, not only did I fulfill those mitzvahs, but I was really quite successful. And then as he says, and I have and I have oxen and donkeys. And what are the oxen and donkeys? Oxen and donkeys, that's a reference to Yosef and Yisachar. Well, what's so special about Yosef and Yisachar? What do they represent? They represent the giants of Torah. Yosef learned all the special Torah from Yaakov that none of the other brothers learned. Yisachar was a champion in Torah learning. Yosef's going to be Yosef HaTzadik. He's not just have regular kids. Look at these two examples. These are genuinely big tzaddikim. And while I was by loving, I could have big tzaddikim. So don't think that you can come and fight me with your love and that I will assimilate like you're figuring. And that's what it says, that what? The double expression. Vayira Yaakov vayetzer lo. That Yaakov was afraid, and he was, how's the English translate the word? He was greatly afraid and distressed. Afraid should be enough. But he's saying the real Yetzer is he's afraid that Esau's going to be a Yetzer Hara for him. He's distressed at this Yetzer Hara that Esau's going to try. And when if Esau is successful, this is a terrible thing. Now look, a beautiful pshat of the Beis Halevi explains this idea a little bit better. He says like this, if you look carefully at source 4, when he says, Hashem, please save me from the hand of my brother. Right? Now, and he adds, and we ask, like, what did he add the second clause? And you said, I will surely do you good and make your seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be counted for multitude. Like, why is he adding that? Hashem knows what he said. I mean, why do you got to remind Hashem what he promised? It sounds so insulting. Hashem, please, save me from my brother. Save me from his hand. And you said you were going to protect me. And I have children like the star of the sea. What do you got to remind Hashem about this? So says the Beis Halevi an incredible pshat. He says like this. The Mishnah Pirkei Avos says, Schar mitzvah, mitzvah. The reward of a mitzvah is a mitzvah. Schar avera, avera. The reward of an avera is an avera. So what does that mean? It's a lot of interpretations. The simple interpretation is that when you do a mitzvah, you know what your reward is? Hashem gives you a chance to do another mitzvah. Get another, you went and, let's say you went to Shul in the morning, to daven. Good. You went to Shul daven, you did a mitzvah, you know what your reward's going to be? Hashem's going to give you another mitzvah. What? A Mashiach's going to come in the door, collecting Eretz Yisrael, and now you get a chance to give him some money. Now some of us go, oh man, it was a bad day to go to Shul. No, not a bad day to go to Shul. You did one mitzvah, Hashem, you got a mitzvah, so I'm going to reward you, get another mitzvah. You do an Aveira, I'm going to reward you, you're going to get another Aveira. That's the simple meaning. But the Brisker Rav says an incredible pshat. He says, the main punishment of an Aveira is the fact that you got punished. I'll explain what that means. And the main reward of a mitzvah is that you got rewarded. In other words, the schar mitzvah, when you get rewarded with a mitzvah, that itself is a mitzvah. When you get punished for a sin, that itself is a sin. What do I mean? He explains beautifully. Hashem created the world in order to bestow pleasure to the Jewish people by being close to us. We get that by doing what Hashem asks us to do. So now, what is Hashem's real desire? Is to give us rewards. That's what Hashem created the world. He wants to give us. He wants to give us. He wants to give us in the nicest way. And the nicest way to give is if the person deserves it. I'm sure all of us as parents, we want to give our children a lot of things. We want to. But we want them to earn it too. We want them to deserve it. And then you're happy to give them these things. Your child works hard, did good in university. You want to give him a car if he needs a car now. If he graduates dental school and needs some money to help open up an office, you want to give him $100,000 or whatever it costs to let's get him on his feet. You want to do that. It's your pleasure to do that because he's worked hard, he deserves. And if you got the money, wouldn't you want to live? If the kid's just a bum and does nothing, you're not too happy to give him anything. But really you want to give. Do something to show that you deserve it. I'm happy to give it to you. Now let me ask you, where do you get more pleasure? As a parent, ask me, where do you get more pleasure? When your kid graduated dental school? or when you gave him the $100,000 that he deserves to help him open up the business, what gave you greater pleasure? You giving him the $100,000 because you want to give him. You want to give him, but you have to have an excuse to give him. You're happy that he graduated and now he needs the money to further what his education did. Then you're happy to give him, if you have the money. If you don't have the money, forget it. But if you got the money, you don't want the kid to say, Gad, I flunked dental school. I'm going to be a Leidekaier. Can you give me $100,000 to get me through the year? Should I give you $100,000? You're lazy, good for nothing. No, I don't want to give you for that. I don't want to support such a lifestyle. Oh, you worked hard. You graduated. Okay, now you're starting a new office. I understand. You don't have any money now. Okay, I've got the money. Okay, it's my pleasure to give you the money because you deserve it. A healthy parent who has the money is happy to do that. Hashem wants to give us reward. That's what He put us on the planet for. So when we do things that enable God to reward us, that itself is a mitzvah. Schar mitzvah, when I get the reward of a mitzvah, that is a mitzvah. That itself is the connection to Hashem, because that's what Hashem wanted to do. Whenever I'm rewarded by Hashem, that itself is a mitzvah, because that's the ultimate will of Hashem. Schar aver, if you get punished by God, that itself is an aver, because Hashem never wants to punish you. You're forcing him to do that. Hashem doesn't want that. So that's what Yaakov is saying in source 4. He's saying, Hashem, help me. You know why? Because you told me you would do good for me. You told me you're going to make my children as the sand of the sea. That's what you want to do. But if I don't deserve it, then it won't happen. And I'll feel terrible, not the fact that I'm being tormented by Esau, the fact that you're not able to give me the blessing that you want to give me. That's what the Brisker Rav says. What was concerning Yaakov? Yaakov wasn't so worried if he'll get killed or not. He's worried that Hashem will be so disappointed that the plan isn't coming out. Hashem says, I want to give you. That'd be my greatest pleasure to protect you and to make your children numerous. That's what I want to give you. But if I don't deserve it and I make mistakes, then you won't be able to give it to me. And that is Vayetzer. That's what's troubling him so much. That's the double expression. He's worried about, yes, there might be one, and it goes a step further. It goes a step further. This one you have to really understand. Esau's very smart. Esau knows one thing. If Esau will try to attack Yaakov straight on, when Yaakov is on target in his game of Torah, Esau cannot defeat him. Esau knows that. Esau knows that. I cannot defeat him militarily. I cannot. And therefore Yaakov was never concerned about a direct military threat from Esau in this parsha. Hold on. He was not concerned. What was he concerned? That Esau's first line of offense is to be friends. That's going to be the first thing. He's going to be my friend. We're going to schmooze. We're going to talk. We're going to this. We're going to that. And then a little bit. In other words, the tanner is moving next to the perfumery. And the tanner's moving in, it's going to start to smell in here. All of a sudden, my kids, I got little kids. The kids are going to learn a little bit from Uncle Esau, the man of the world. You know, and that's always a bit of a danger. In very religious homes, when you bring in secular family, there is a danger. Baal Teshuvos who are trying to make their families according to Torah, and you have family that's not. What do they keep saying to you and to your children? Why do you want to be so silly and go to just a Jewish school over there? What's wrong with the public school? Don't you want to be like everybody else? Don't you sense that? Why are you such a weirdo? You're not normal. And your well-intended relatives, maybe your parents, your brother, your sister, well-intended or maybe not well-intended, but they throw these lines that they should know to keep their mouths shut and not say any of these. But no, we got to do this for the good of your children. You don't know your children. You're holding them back. You know, why are you sending them to Jewish day school? They can go to a good public school and they're going to get a lot better education, get a lot further ahead in life. And it's a big pressure. And people can cave into that pressure. And Yaakov realizes, but we love you. Come over for dinner. You know, and while they're giving you dinner, while they take you to a kosher restaurant, they start telling you how to raise your kids. So that's the hand of love. And Yaakov knows that if I give into the hand of love, that's only step one. It never ends at step one. The hand of love is the first hand. And once the hand of love gets me to learn a little less Torah, then the protection that Hashem gives me is lost. And then the second hand comes, the hand that puts the knife right in your back. From the same Esav. And that's what Yaakov understood as the double threat. For the Jew in exile, that's the double threat. And that's why he's saying, save me from my brother, save me from Esav. It's both. Save me when Esav acts like a real brother that's loving me. You better save me from that I don't fall into that. And then what after will happen is the real Esav who will come and who will physically kill me. You got a question?
Yeah, so then if that was the case, why did he put the maidservants first?
Okay, we're going to come to that.
Okay.
I can even answer that right now. So now, the truth of the matter is, who needs the most protection when you're involved with foreign ideologies? The youngest. The youngest. The youngest are under the greatest threat because they have the less Jewish education. And who's the youngest? Yosef. Benjamin wasn't born yet. He's coming up, but not yet. He's the youngest. The youngest are the ones with the greatest threat. And we know that historically. When people moved from Europe to America, if they had kids who were already older kids, they were used to going to shul every day, used to kashrus, used to that, maybe you had a chance. But then you brought a 2-year-old with you into America who didn't see what it was like before, and all you see is the trafe kind of lifestyle people have. Oh, it's much more dangerous. So if we have to see this guy, make sure the youngest doesn't see him. Because that's the one who could be most notably influenced negatively from everybody else. So that's what he's afraid of. Now, so this now, if you look at it this way, then everything makes a lot more sense over here. So now what's going on? So Esav knew at this point of the game he could not physically kill Yaakov. He just knew it couldn't happen. He could not destroy Yaakov. He couldn't. Because Yaakov still was coming back solid. Because he thought maybe when he comes back from Lavan after 20 years, I'll be able to kill him. Because he may have lost his spiritual level. But he hasn't lost his spiritual level. He's as strong as anything else. He's very strong. So now Esav only has one way. I got to try to get to be friends with him and to let him assimilate a little bit. That becomes, and that's the danger that Yaakov is more afraid of that danger than the other danger. If Esav comes wanting to kill me, I know he's my enemy. My children know he's his enemy, and then we have to be good Jews, and Hashem will protect us. But if he comes with the golden tongue, and with all this luxury, and he wants to be our friend, then I don't know if my kids could stand up to this.
Why the 400 men?
Well, 400 is a lot of discussion with that. 400 has the same gematria as ayin ra, evil eye. Evil eye means it's what it represents more than the 400. It means with that evil eye to take down Yosef. And more than that, you cannot have people assimilate unless they're the minority. Esav comes by himself, dressed up as the modern Esav. It's one guy. I got 400 guys. Look, there's the world out there. These are the most prominent people in the world. I'm not just coming. I'm coming with the president. I'm coming with the prime minister. I'm going with the minister of defense. I'm going with all the chashuv people. The most prestigious people. Look, they're modern people. Look how we live. We live in the land of Israel for the last 20 years, and we're very sophisticated and this and that. So that's the subliminal message. So why can't you do this too? That's what Yaakov was afraid of. He didn't need 400 men to fight. He's hoping if we get them to assimilate, then one day these 400 will now slit their throats too. And that's what Yaakov was so afraid of. And unfortunately, that's exactly what's happened in history over and over and over again. What Yaakov is doing, he's trying to teach us what to be afraid of. We learned this parsha. You see, what was Yaakov afraid of? He was afraid of assimilation. He knew the deathly effect of assimilation. He was so afraid of it. He saw everything that's going to come from Esav. He saw what's going to happen with Rome. He saw what's going to happen in Spain. He saw what's going to happen in Germany. He saw all of this. He's davening to Hashem. Hashem, you got to help us. Because it's very hard to resist the temptations when they're coming across so nice and so smooth. So now, when Esav sees he doesn't have a chance physically and militarily to destroy him, So what happens? He can't do this. So now what happens? Let's try that the angel of Esav should come. The angel of Esav. Now, the night before Esav's going to meet with him. So the angel of Esav says, Yaakov's really concerned. Yaakov is going through a crisis. Let me fight with him straight on, me and him. Now, what is this really? What is this angel of Esav? It's nothing more than the Yetzer Hara.
How did he know it was the angel that he was fighting?
How did he know? Because it wasn't a regular person. I mean, listen, Yaakov isn't me and you. He's a very spiritual being. He can tell what an angel is. I don't know. But the point is, a lot of times a lot of times we meet people, but they're people, but they're also angels. They represent forces that are not good for us. Yaakov was dealing with this angel who was telling him to forget about the program. The program in Yiddishkeit is not going to work. He was throwing every Yetzer Hara he could at Yaakov to try to spiritually diminish him. Now, you got this all the time. You have this all the time. You're wrestling with angels. Everyone in this room is wrestling with angels. They just don't look like angels.
Yes, right.
Your boss that's telling you you're not working hard enough, you better start thinking about Shabbos or you're going to lose your job. That's an angel that's wrestling with you. That's an angel that's wrestling with you. And then the rabbi says, how come you don't come to Shul on Shabbos anymore? Business is pretty tough. It's either Shul or bread on the table. So that's someone who wrestled with the angel and lost. We all wrestle with angels. We're just not sure what it is. Should this angel tell us to take our kid out of the Jewish day school? Should this angel tell us, you got elderly parents, just throw them in a nursing home and forget about it? That's an angel that's fighting with you. This angel says, you don't have to be so frum anymore. When you were about Shul, you were very excited about this business. And it looked good, but now it's getting kind of boring, isn't it? And look at your other friends who are not frum. They're doing much better than you in the business world. Okay, I'm not telling you to be Machal Shabbos. Don't be as excited as the rabbi tells you to be. Just, don't have to come to Minyan every day. Don't have to be so excited about this. Well, that angel was saying, yeah, it's been 34 years you've been in Canaan. You haven't been there. Esau's there. His 400 men are there. Yitzchak's an old man. He's a blind man. What do you think Yiddishkeites looked like for the last 34 years in Eretz Yisrael? Esau's a respected man there. His men are respected. You come with your old-fashioned Judaism, people aren't going to like it. Why don't you ease up a little on it, huh? Be friends with Esau. Get with the new program. Take the mechitza down and let men and women pray together, then everyone will be happy. Put an organ in the shul, look like everyone else. You can have a kosher home, but outside doesn't be kosher. Get with the program. We love you. Let's make one big happy family. And Yaakov has to think, how am I going to come back to the land of Israel? How am I going to deal with this Esau? And I'm going to come compromising with him or not? And Yaakov says to me, no compromises. This is the Yiddishkeit I have. Take it or leave it. I'm not going to do anything. He wrestled the Malach to draw. Now, why did the Malach wait for Yaakov? Why couldn't he do this with Avram? Why didn't he fight with Avram? Why didn't he fight with Yitzchak? So all the rabbis say very simple. The very important message. The Yetzer Hara is very happy to have everyone in this shul pray. Can pray all day long. It doesn't get the Yetzer Hara nervous at all. The Yetzer Hara is very happy if you will do mitzvahs all day long. Doesn't get him nervous at all. He knows he's got you. You can go to Shul and daven 3 times a day. The Yetzer Hara knows he's got you. You can do mitzvahs all along. He knows he's got you. There's one thing, the ultimate weapon that he cannot tolerate. And that is what? Torah. Torah, he can't, that's the antidote. That's the antidote. A person learns Torah, the Yetzer Hara can have no effect on such a person who learns Torah properly. If you learn properly, what does it mean you learn Torah? You know the will of Hashem. The Yetzer Hara works very interesting. How does the Yetzer Hara succeed? By creating doubts in your mind, by making white look black and black look white. He's very good at that. He's very good at confusing people. And he can confuse people who daven. Yeah, you should daven. Daven that your kid should, get 100 on his math test. Besides the daven, he should do well in learning Torah. You can daven for all kinds of things that aren't that important. Daven for your selfish needs. He can do your mitzvahs, but do it in the way that a little bit not as strong. You know, Christians pray, Muslims pray. Doesn't bother him. You pray too. Pray, you know, you can pray like a goy. A lot of Jews pray like goyim. Because if you don't have Torah, you don't even know what your prayers are doing. Muslims pray 5 times a day. Hashem's not interested in their prayers. It's selfish, narcissistic prayers. If you learn Torah, then you know how to pray the real way. The Torah teaches you what real prayer is. As long as you're not learning Torah, then you'll pray just like a Muslim or a Christian prays. That's okay. You do mitzvahs, Muslims and Christians do mitzvahs too. But they don't do mitzvahs for the sake of God. And you won't either. But once you learn Torah, the way Torah is meant to be learned, then there's no doubts. He can't fool you. And then your davening is different, your mitzvahs are different, then he's in trouble. The Yetzer cannot stand when people are learning Torah. Authentic Torah bothers him to no end. Avram represented kindness. So the Yetzer said, I don't care, I'll give you his kindness he wants. He'll create Yishmaels. I don't worry about that. Yitzchak, he prays all day, I don't care, he'll have an Esav. But Yaakov is Torah. Yaakov is Torah. Whoa, Yaakov's going to come back and build Torah in Eretz Yisrael. This cannot be. This is going to create a whole revolution of spirituality. This I have to stop. And you see the Yetzer Hara stops at no ends to get you to stop learning Torah. And just like you see with Yaakov, the Malach only picked a fight with Yaakov and nobody else. Why? Because the Torah represented. Tell the story. There's many versions to this story. I'll tell you the less abrasive version, since we're on the camera. Right? The other version people get really upset about. This story took place in Slobodka, the Slobodka yeshiva, the altar from Slobodka. There was a bacher in yeshiva learning. And in those days, learning in yeshiva in Slobodka, that's all you did. Those yeshivas, from when you wake up, there was no TV, no radios, no nothing. All you got is this simple, modest building. You didn't even have fancy, but all you did all day long was learn Torah. Now, if you would understand how that really can just catapult a young man into a spiritual world all day long, there's nothing else there. There's nothing, no distractions. So anyway, a bacher gets a letter from home, and the boys lived out of town. Gets a letter from home, and the father writes in the letter to the son, I'm getting old, I'm getting weak, I need you to come back home, you got to help me with the business. I'm getting old, I need help with the business. And I'll tell you what, you can learn Torah most of the day, but put in a few hours and help your father in the business. So the boy showed the letter to his Rosh Yeshiva, to the altar from Navardik. And the Rebbe said, listen, you just sit and learn and I'll deal with it. So the altar writes a letter to the father, the elderly father. He says, listen, this is the best years of your son for learning. As much as I appreciate that you need help in the business, I understand that, but these years he'll never get back. These years to totally dedicate for learning, he'll never get back. And if he stays in yeshiva, he'll become a great scholar. I'm telling you, I see he's got good mind. And of course, it's going to be hard, but it's worth it. Just let him stay longer. Okay. A little bit more time passed. We don't know exactly how long. Could be a year, 2 years, whatever. Now the mother sent them. There's no phones in those days. Okay, it takes a long time for communication. Then the boy gets a letter from the mother. The mother sends a letter. Says, "I'm sorry, your father passed away." Now, he probably doesn't get the letter for a few weeks later, right? And the whole yoke of the parnasa now, the mother says, on me. So I don't know what to do. Listen, I need you to come and help me. I really need your help now. Please come back. So he shows the letter to his Rosh Yeshiva. Rosh Yeshiva says, sit and learn, I'll deal with it. So he writes a letter to the mother and says, I understand it's a difficult time, but according to the effort, so is the reward. You have a tremendous son. He's growing greatly. He can be a great, great Torah leader here. Listen, try your best to make ends meet without this, and just leave it. And then the son has to sit shiva. In the yeshiva, he sits shiva. And he continues to grow in Torah for many years. Then finally, a third letter comes. The third letter comes and says, there was a terror from the mother. There was a terrible fire in the city. Most of the city's burnt down. The house has been burnt down. The business has been burnt down. There's nothing left. You got to come back. So he showed. Whatever. So the Rosh Yeshiva, the boy goes to Rosh Yeshiva. Rosh Yeshiva says, well, that already, you got to go back. Something we could do, you got to go back. And you got to help as much as you can, because there's nothing there. But I want you to know one thing. Look what the Satan had to do to get you to stop learning. Not only did he have to kill your father, he had to burn the whole city to get you to stop learning Torah. Just know that. That's one version of the story. There's another version I'm not going to tell you.
Why?
Okay? I'm just saying. But how do you see how a tzaddik understands? Tzaddik understands that if you're learning Torah, the Satan cannot tolerate that. He'll do what he has to do. He'll burn the city to get you to stop learning Torah. The pressure, learning Torah, he cannot stand it. Because that, if you have real Torah, you'll never assimilate. When you have Torah, you have the truth. When you have the truth, you look at the modern people and say, you have nothing. But if you don't have Torah, then you begin to wonder, I don't know, how am I so much? I pray, he prays. I do good deeds, he's a nice guy. I'm a nice guy. He prays, I pray. Maybe I can do like him. If you really learn what Torah is really all about, that shows you how much different you are than everybody else, then you're not threatened by assimilation. And that's why the angel couldn't stand Yaakov's coming to Eretz Yisrael with Torah. He's going to start bringing back the Haredim are coming back to Eretz Yisrael. Are you out of your mind? We liked it with Esav and his partnered men. So now, and we can't fight with this guy because he's learning Torah. We're not going to be able to lay a hand on this guy. So what can I do? There's only one thing I can do. I got to try to make him assimilate. And that's what that Malach was doing. That Malach was fighting him. Trying to compromise. Be a little more liberal-minded. You can make a nice partnership with Esav still and this and that, everything. Yaakov says, nothing doing. So now, once Yaakov won that battle, then when Esav comes the next day, there's nothing to be afraid of. Of course, you got to go through the motions and you give him honor and you bow down to him and you show him respect and you show him this and you show him that. But at the end of the day, you don't give in to him at all. And that's what the angel does. Now he changes his name from Yaakov to Yisrael. What does that mean? Well, what does Yaakov mean? What did it mean, Yaakov? Yaakov means heel. Why was it called Yaakov? He's holding on to the heel of Esav. What does that mean, he's holding on to the heel of Esav? Meaning to say he must have some connection with Esav. There's that temptation to want to have a connection with Esav. And to a certain degree in the beginning of his life, Yaakov wanted to have something to do with Esav, wanted to have some relationship with Esav. Yisrael means you have fought against the forces of evil and you will overcome them. And you're not interested in any connection with Esav anymore. And that's what it makes sense in the Gemara now in Brachos. The Gemara says like this. Whoever calls Avram is a sinner. Because Hashem changed his name. He says, you're no longer called Avram, you're Avraham. Anyone who calls Avram is a sinner. But then the Gemara says, but what about if somebody calls Yaakov? Because his name was changed to Yisrael. What about that? He says, that's not a sin. Why? Because there's times Hashem called Yaakov himself Yaakov, and sometimes he called him Yisrael. So Hashem Yaakov still has like both names. So the question is, why has he got both names? The answer is because, remember, Yaakov is that symbol of being drawn after the Yetzer Hara. And the truth of the matter is, we haven't conquered that yet. Maybe Yaakov personally did, but the descendants of Yaakov still have to do with that Yetzer Hara. That wanting to follow Esav to some extent, or to have some connection, some handle, grabbing on to the heel of Esav. Epis, a little bit shy with Esav. We can't, till Mashiach comes, it's not going to leave. But there'll be greater moments when we're like Yisrael, we're totally not fooled at all by what he's saying. And it vacillates in Jewish history one to the other, one time to the other. Okay, I think we answered almost all the questions. We only had one.
I have one.
Wait, let me just finish. And what about the one of Aim al-Banim? We asked the question, what about Aim al-Banim? Why does it say a mother with a child? So that, you have to understand what he really meant. Look in Song of Songs, Shereshim, source number 9. When it talks about how we love Hashem, we say, I held him and he would not let him go until I had brought him into my mother's house. What did King Solomon mean, my mother's house? The Medrash says, mother refers to Torah, and sons refer to Torah scholars. He said, I'm afraid he will hit a mother and his sons. He will hit my Torah and my Torah scholars. That's what I was afraid he's going to hit. I'm afraid the assimilation is going to hit Torah and the Torah scholars that are there. Okay? So now, when Yaakov wins this battle, he now is called Yisrael, where you see you can overcome, but you're still Yaakov, because you know what? Your descendants may be tempted to fall into this. And now we see a beautiful thing. It says he has this battle with the Malach, right? And it says at the end, when the Malach said, in the English doesn't show it as well as in the Hebrew, but when it said in, I don't have it here. When it says in the pasuk, says when the Malach saw he couldn't defeat Yaakov, it says Vayar, he saw ki lo yochol lo, he wasn't able to overpower lo, him. So lo is spelled lamed vav. Lamed vav. The numerical value of lamed vav is 36. What else is 36? Yeah, but there's something more important. There are 36 primary tractates of the Talmud. So the Malach saw he couldn't overcome Yaakov. Why? Because his Torah was so strong. Since Yaakov serves lo yochal lo, he couldn't overpower his Torah. He couldn't knock out his desire to want to stay on task. When he saw he couldn't do that, he had to do something. So what did he do? He hit him in the thigh, which is symbolic of those who will support Torah, who are the ones who sustain Torah. The rich people who pay Torah, who pay for Torah to be learned. He hit them there. Means say in the future, Hashem, the only one the Yitzhak can knock is maybe the supporters of Torah he can knock. But Yaakov will still fight. Now it's interesting. How many candles do you light on Hanukkah? On all 8 days, add it up.
15.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Without the shamash, comes out to 36. 36. 36 candles on Hanukkah. 36 tractates. Everything we're talking about is the same thing that the Greeks wanted to do to the Jews. The same thing. The Greeks said, you can be Jews. Why do we have to fight? You know Alexander the Great is the strongest man around. I can destroy you. Do it simple. Just do us a favor. Give up your Torah and you can be Jews with our Torah, with our Greek knowledge. All they were saying is you could live as Jews. We're very happy. You want to be a Jew? Be a Jew. You want to keep mitzvahs? Keep mitzvahs. Just don't learn Torah. And maybe change your name, from Yochanan to Jason. And get a little different haircut, and how about you play in the Maccabee games? We'll call them Maccabee games, although they're really the Roman games, and you don't have to wear any clothes when you're playing those games because the body's... That's the age of the world, man. We're all going in that direction. You don't want to be left behind, do you? To which the Maccabees say, no. There's 36 candles. That Torah we can never give up. And that's the only solution we have. So this was the real battle that took place. And that's why we read these parshas always before Hanukkah. Always within a week or two before Hanukkah we read these parshas. Because this is the real threat. The real threat is the assimilation. And that's what Yaakov is so afraid of. He'll go to what extent to not have that happen. He has to send angels. He has to protect his children. He has to do what he can because he knows if he loses the battle of assimilation, then the next battle of the anti-Semitism will be lost as well. And that's the message of this parsha. So if you want to stop anti-Semitism, Yaakov is teaching us you will not stop it by being friendly with them, by giving in to them. You don't try to stop that. You just stick to your old-fashioned Torah, your old-fashioned ideas, and you keep Hashem happy with you, and you make sure your children don't look at the rest of the world and see that that's an amazing thing. But it's very hard because Esau is very sneaky. When the television was first brought into the world, the great rabbi said you shouldn't watch it. And people said, what are you talking about? What's be so bad about it? Go back into the 50s and the 60s, you watch, now you can see on YouTube all the old shows from over 50 years ago. If you remember the Andy Griffith show? I don't know if you South Africans ever got that, right? I think some of the Canadians maybe got it. In the early 60s, Andy Griffin, a nice Christian man with nice Christian values, a nice obnoxious comedy show with Don Knotts, and it's very obnoxious. You don't have to worry about things not being modest, people swearing. As a matter of fact, you learned, you had shows like Father Knows Best. It really shows you how wise a father is, and he loves the children, or My Three Sons, all these like wholesome shows where it really is good values. And the rabbi said, don't watch it. I said, what are you talking about? It's so interesting. It's so nice. He said, it's not going to be good. Because the rabbis then knew what would come 10 years later, 20, 30, 40, 50. Murder and rape and all kinds of rated X things right on your television screen at the drop of a hat. Once you get used to every night we're going to sit and watch TV, then you forget about that every night. You sit and go out and learn Torah. So what could be so bad about watching Andy Griffin? Nothing's wrong with Andy Griffin. But what Andy Griffin's going to bring you 10 years from now is going to be a big problem. Then it's going to become Matlock. Right? That's the Andy Griffin 15 years later, where he has to deal with crime and this and that and all the other things. And then what happens after that? And that's what slowly, before you realize it, all of a sudden you're just like Esau himself. So Hashem should give us the strength to keep the battle going, even though you're going to get hit and hurt and all these things. If we keep the battle going and you're clear not to fall to assimilation, and you never ever have to worry about anti-Semitism. That is the cure to anti-Semitism. Sounds counterintuitive. If you stick with your Yiddishkeit, Esau cannot touch you. He'll try to get you to assimilate. You stay away from that. That will bring peace to the Jewish people.